Hello, it's Victor again with The Junkyard. Today I'd like to talk about The Ruins, a film adaptation of a book by Scott Smith.
Now, I don't know quite how to classify this film. It's not a comedy or romance, of course. It's not a survival thriller, really, because the protagonists couldn't survive their way out of a Chuck E. Cheese's. It's not really a sci-fi, as no real focus is put on the floral antagonist's origins or physics. The best I can come up with is horror, but honestly, besides the many disturbing images and gross-outs, there really isn't anything strictly scary going on.
Honestly, the film is a dreary, unpleasant mess, filled with unlikable characters and a situation I really just can't care about. However, the film does bring up a few interesting questions, and that's why I wanted to do this review of it.
First, the story, and this is full of spoilers, so be warned. Kids on vacation go to Forbidden Ruins. Turns out ruins are guarded by a tribe who forces them to stay on the ruins. Kids are killed off by their own stupidity and some evil foliage. Two are left, one sacrifices self to let other escape. The end. Or is it? Anyway, part of the problem of the movie is that I'm not sure if the story needed to be told, or watched. Part of that is the characters, a common horror movie weakness. You have a watered-down Lindsay Lohan, the bastard love child of Tobey Maguire and a Baldwin, that guy from Lord of the Rings, a blonde girl who manages to even make panties bland, and a German. They start going down, and we really don't care. But I can get past that. You almost need to for movies these days. The big part of the problem is more complex. They want us to care about their survival, but do we want them to survive? Well, frankly, no. See, those evil plants I mentioned? Well, apparently, whatever their origin, they can spread so easily that this tribe has dedicated itself to making sure the plants can't leave the ruin. They salt the ground regularly, they take pains to keep people away, and they either kill or isolate anyone who's touched the plants. So what would happen if these vicious, backwards natives didn't keep doing these primitive, superstitious rituals? Well, to put it simply, everyone would die screaming. Everyone. Like all 6.5 billion human beings on this planet would be murdered by flesh-eating, skin-burrowing, insanity-inducing plants. These kids are potential vectors for something uncomparably bad. And they know it. One of the guys actually pointed out that the plant spores had already embedded themselves into their clothes, and they would find out that the plants also can burrow under the skin almost unnoticed. I don't want to sound cold, but while I might think it would be worth the effort to save these kids with a hazmat team and a helicopter, then have them scrubbed with some serious chemicals, then have their systems flushed with some very harsh medicines, followed by 6 months of isolation and observation, I would personally shoot them to keep them from escaping on foot. Sorry kids, needs of the many. So here you have a film where, if you're watching with any part of your brain working, and it's not exciting enough to distract you that much, you end up rooting for the villagers. I mean, yeah, they shot that poor kid, but they probably did it as much to save the kid from a horrific death, as much as to keep the plants at bay. I expected, as I watched it, that before the end the survivors would torch themselves in the ruin, ending Audrey 3's threat forever, with the obligatory last shot of one small bud popping out from the ashes. Or that they would try and fail to escape, touching the chief or whatever, forcing him to kill himself. What happened, however, is that the one female escapes. So when I say I should have guessed, I really, really should have guessed. And here then is the tough question the film presents. Was this a cliched ending to a boringly disgusting film? Or a subtle yet relentless attempt on the part of the filmmakers to completely reverse a cliche? Because, at least if you're like me, you're hoping the beings hunting the heroine will kill her, because you're afraid of her and the death she brings. This idea is reinforced by the fact that the Jeep actually started when she turned the key. Cars usually hate slutty chicks in peril, and you know it.
So there you are, a movie that may or may not have some redeeming factors, depending on how much credit you're willing to give the director. Well, this has been Victor with The Junkyard, and before I leave you, I'd like to present my idea for Ruins 2.
Okay, so the girl gets back to the States, but instead of dying from the plant, it becomes part of her. Now she can control the plant and use them to turn people into plant zombies. The government tries everything to stop her, but nothing! Just as things are at their worst, who should arrive but Angry Native? He uses native knowledge and badassness to defeat her, and she's destroyed. Or is she? The story continues in Ruins versus Audrey 2 versus Bioland. Whoever wins, we lose! Now Angry Native comes back as a cyborg, and he's riding Mothra. But then the military comes in, and then there's this and that.